We got Corey on the show, and it's actually a bit of a smaller event, right? This is a more targeted, specialized topic. So we're not going to have hundreds and hundreds of people on it. Hopefully people who are genuinely interested to learn more about this new service that we've collaborated with Corey to launch. We're just going to dive right into this. This is very much meant to be a conversation. We've got a few polls along the way. And what we're talking about here, let me pull up a few slides here, is this new service that we've called the APIsec Certified Pen Test. And it's pretty cool. We've worked with Corey to come up with a service that combines all the best that there is out there and address all of the pain points that exist with API and application pen tests in general. So that's what we're going to go through here today. And part of what's made this possible is some new changes in Corey's life. So Corey, maybe we'll start with that and just talk about what's going on in your world with hAPI Labs. We saw the announcement. Let everyone know, what are you up to?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks. Yeah, so I've had some major career changes in the last month. A lot of you know me, but I've been in IT and cybersecurity for the past 15 years. In the last 5.5 years, I've been a senior manager over at Moss Adams, leading penetration testing over there for about, hundreds of clients, thousands of pen tests, helping lead a good-sized team over there. And I just decided to go off on my own. My last day there was at the beginning of March, and I figured I want to take control of my destiny and start hAPI Labs to have a bit more freedom and control over the types of penetration testing that I'll be doing, having my own team, and coming up with new and exciting services. For example, not too shortly after leaving Moss Adams, I've teamed up with API Days. And so now at May 15th, I'll be running the Hacking APIs conference. And of course, the week after, we have APIsec Con going on. And so I just thought it was a great opportunity to venture out, team up, and have a stronger partnership with APIsec and secure the many APIs of the world together.
I suspect you're not going to lack for things to do. It's not like you've been super busy already, and it's not even the end of the first month of your new adventures. Indeed, Rebecca, sky's the limit, I think, for Corey, and it always has been. So we're going to talk today about this new service that we got here, and it's all about API pen testing, application pen testing, and I want to get some feedback from the group. So we got a couple of polls here. And the first one, very simple questions. Let's throw it up here now. Hopefully it's showing up. Like, are you required to do pen testing in your organization? Maybe you're not in an organ. Maybe you're a student. Maybe you're independent. That's fine. Or maybe your organization doesn't do it. That's fine. But maybe you're here because you're actually genuinely interested in this whole service and how we do things here. And for those who are answering yes, it would be cool if you could add some comments in the chat, maybe, on how you're doing it, right? Do you have an internal team? Are you hiring an outside team? Are you doing it once a year? Are you covering all the bases of your APIs? Is it just a sampling, things like that? But what's really interesting, there we go, Rebecca, internal and external. Be curious, Rebecca, are you doing that with third-party pen testers? Are you doing that in-house with your own red teams, outside team with different vendor each time? Oh, that's super interesting. Yeah, I've heard about that. Corey, they got to rotate around. And I think part of the reason why is diversify the expertise of the team that's coming in.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. You want to get multiple views. It's one of those recommendations that's out there for pen test groups, which is cycle every few years and try out a new vendor for that, because you just get different skills and expertise from team to team. So there's a good case for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes sense, right? And it's one of the challenges that I think we've seen with pen tests. So I'm going to throw this second one up. This will be our last poll. But if you can handle, here you are. How are you handling? Oh, we got another. I didn't even see that. How are you handling pen test requirements, internal and external? Do you need to perform annual? All right. I don't know where these polls came from. Someone added some really cool polls in here. So thank you for doing that, whoever did that. There's one more Here we go. Yeah. What is your main issue? I'm really curious about that one. So hopefully we've got 18 answers. Number one is our testers lack API expertise. That's super interesting. I'm going to let that one filter out for a little bit, but this is, I think people are already touching on some of the issues. So Corey, like when you branched out on your own, what did you see as the opportunity to do better in this area?
Yeah. So I think Moss Adams is a large accounting firm. So it has a lot of long-term clients and internal relationships and everything there. They're typically pen test started with the network conversation. So having your annual network pen test. And then smaller slices of that would be an API pen test here, API pen test there. And so I know how serious the API security is and how big of a problem it is and how it's global and we're outnumbered and everything. That's why we created the university and the pen test course and the book and everything else. And I thought this is just another way to keep going down that path. And of course, I can do all the other types of pen tests, but starting out and focusing on specifically API penetration testing. For example, going beyond just the pen test and actually addressing one of the main issues with API pen tests over in the polls, which is anytime there's not documentation, we can create that documentation as we're testing. I give a demonstration of that in the API pen test course, but we actually provide that as a service. We go in, capture the requests, build out the documentation. I also perform API discovery as a service. And so that's just another way to gather a good view of all the documentation and inventory that so that it can be captured and tested continuously and not run into problems like improper assets management or anything like that where a version goes unsupported.
Let's do something here. And Diamond, thank you for your question. I'm going to tag that and we're going to answer that here for sure in the session. And if anyone else has questions, please throw them in. Let's talk about what is it, right? And then I'd like us to go, Corey, like through some of those polls, because we're going to touch on the various pain points that people have with their pen test. But can you just introduce us? Like, what is the APIsec Certified Pen Test? Give us the pitch, if you will.
For sure. So the APIsec Certified Pen Test is a partnership between hAPI Labs, my company, and APIsec. And wherever I'm pen testing APIs, I'm starting with APIsec. So I get a hold of documentation, put it into APIsec, and then perform my baseline vulnerability scanning across the entire API collection. And so that gives me a great overview of the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities and places to focus more of my testing time on. And so that's how I start off on the right foot with API penetration testing. From there, I take those results. I use Postman, Burp Suite, and other tools like that to dive deeper into API flow testing and testing where I'm combining multiple vulnerabilities and providing a proof of concept by exploiting those and demonstrating what an attacker would be able to do. And from there, I typically will deliver a report. There's a couple months after that where retesting can be performed with an updated report. And historically, that would be the end of the service. But what we're doing instead is we're leaving people's APIs covered by including an annual license to APIsec's testing platform. And that way, when the pen test is over, we've already done all of the heavy lifting with getting it set up properly and getting it configured with the right parameters and right authentication and everything else. And then from there, we can either continue to help organizations with testing using the platform, or we can hand it off to the technical team to where they can have that coverage beyond the pen test and continuously test their APIs throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, this is really cool, right? And I'm going to pull up that poll. I don't know if this shows up for all of you, but I'm looking at the one that says, what is your main issue with pen tests? And we tried, I think, to address all of these pain points in here. I see some that are ranking pretty low, and I think it's only because you had to pick one. You couldn't pick more than one. But let's start with the top, all right? Don't have documentation. So you've already touched on this, Corey, right? This is a big problem. Organizations often want to do black box testing. They don't want to give you any tips, any hints, right? Or maybe they don't have documentation. So you can handle that.
Yeah, that's true. So I can either handle that through our API discovery as a service, where we build out that inventory of APIs and have a collection or open API specs that we can hand off at the end. And that can be leveraged throughout the rest of the pen test and with the APIsec scanner.
Yeah, this is fantastic because we know a lot of organizations just don't have the documentation, or it's incomplete, or it's spotty coverage and all that. Okay, check.
I've talked to, plenty of large, well-known enterprises that they claim maybe they have a handle on anywhere from 20 to 50% of their APIs. And they have this awareness that the others are out there, but through mergers, acquisitions, losing key team members, and not having that inventory built in from the start, they just have APIs on the loose.
Yeah, absolutely. So then let's go through the next one. Pen tests aren't comprehensive, right? I think part of what's made your pen testing course so incredibly popular is there's just this lack of knowledge, lack of expertise on how to do it. And from my perspective, or what I've witnessed, is a pen testing, you might hire a third party pen tester, you give them a week, 2 weeks, and they got to accomplish everything that they possibly can in that amount of time. And APIs are a different beast. It's not pointing and clicking in a UI, it's writing code and scripts, right? It's very challenging to actually get a broad level of coverage.
Yeah, the pen tests are a point in time perspective of the vulnerabilities that exist before the next deployment, before the next code change, anything else. And in my career, I've worked with plenty of auditors to review pen tests, and a lot of firms that are out there that are testing APIs are pointing vulnerability scanners at these APIs, and they're only finding security misconfigurations. And those reports, they often look like there's not too much wrong with the API. It's typically a missing header or potential for clickjacking or something else, but they're missing the OWASP top 10, and they're using the wrong tools to test them to begin with.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when you and I first met, we would talk about the Postal Service example where they had to do their annual Inspector General audit. They ran their vulnerability scanners, probably Nessus or something like that. And I don't remember, it found like some basic low hanging fruit, and they fixed it and they got the clean bill of health. And then 3 months later, they lost 60 million records through Ebola flaw or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, that was present back in 2019 or so, and it's still present today. It's all over the place. And that's why a lot of my talks, I encourage teams to test their tools against deliberately vulnerable applications that have vulnerable APIs, because it is clear as day once you do that and your scanner comes back with nothing. And so you have to use tools like the APIsec scanner that are built for APIs. They know that certain parameters are going to be required. They know how important role-based access control testing is, and it's built into the platform.
And the APIsec scanner, which, by the way, any of you are welcome to try. We'll put the link up if you haven't played with it. If you were to throw crappy, completely ridiculous API in there, it's 40 some endpoints. The scanner will run 2,000 different tests on it. And just think about what it would take to come anywhere near that doing it manually, right? And we know like the legacy scanners just don't go into depth on the APIs. All right, so that's number 2. Pen tests aren't comprehensive. Number 3, we need continuous assessment. Corey, help us understand how we're addressing that.
Yeah, with continuous assessment, that's where we come in, we build out the documentation if it's not there, we leverage the scanner, we set it up for you so that by the end of the pen test, we deliver a report, but we can also hand off the scanner that's built to continuously test the APIs throughout the rest of the year. And Dan, you'll be better to speak to or any limitations on that, but they can definitely run their scans, make a new deployment, make any major changes. They can run it, they can schedule it to be monthly, weekly, so on and so forth, and continuously test throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, you don't get 365 days of Corey, but you do get 365 days of APIsec in this joint service. And we talk a lot about in the fundamentals course, and I know across all of your talks, Corey, we would never push code live that hasn't gone through functionality testing, performance testing, QA, bug testing, all of that, right? But we will test we'll run a once a year pen test on our APIs. That's just crazy, right? That's a lot of code going out that hasn't been fully vetted. So we wanted to address that here. And so the scanner that Corey will use, that he will stand up, will stay with you. And that means it will run continuous, right? And the best practice is even wire it right into your pre-prod environment, into your CI/CD pipeline, so that every release is automatically getting tested, right? And when something flags, you'll know about it. You can even call up Corey and get additional services there. So, all right, that's number 3. Number 4, takes too long to test APIs well. Interesting. 15% of people commenting on this, right? Is the week or 2 week long engagement really sufficient to test your APIs well?
Yeah, so typically we have to take a risk-based approach. If an API has hundreds of requests and there are multiple APIs to get through, that's why we do what we can to leverage like AI tools to help us out. We use the Postman collection runner to test wide across the entire API collection. We use the tools that we can to cover as much as possible. But yeah, you are limited by budget, you're limited by time, and the approved testing windows. Those really limit down how much time a pen tester can spend with your organization's APIs.
Yeah.
And so that's where a tool like APIsec upfront, I know I'm going to have a certain level of assurance that they're covered for a lot of the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. And from there, I can dive into those higher risk findings and see what can really be done with them and provide proof of concept from there.
That's why it was so instrumental to have some technology as part of this service. And I bet if we had a poll question like, how are you testing your APIs? Probably most people would say, we use Burp, we use Zap, we use tools like this, which are truly outstanding technology. Burp's fantastic, right? It's the reason why it's so popular. But if you're familiar with it, like it requires a significant amount of expertise. You got to know how to use it, how to make it do what you want it to do. You got to know what you want it to do, and then multiply that by every API you got. Inevitably, organizations make trade-offs. Like you say, they do this risk thing. Like, all right, let's focus on our web-facing APIs or these ones that are more critical, and the rest we'll roll the dice. All right, number 4 or number 5, I guess, is our testers lack API expertise. This is an alley-oop, Corey. How are we addressing that here?
Yeah, so I don't know that there are that many other people in the world that are creating the courses, creating the university, writing the book, so on and so forth, and have the hands-on experience to have tested thousands of APIs at this point and found all sorts of vulnerabilities. Try and close those gaps.
I was joking earlier, Corey, you're probably top 5, but let's be real. It'd be hard to find anyone with more credentials, more expertise, more success and recognition than you on doing this. Let's go through some of the questions that we got here. There's some really awesome ones in here. All right. Why is that not pop? All right, here we go. Let's start with Diamond. Will we get a here, let me put this on the screen. Will we get a certified pen test? How do we join? How much does it cost? Is it DoD compliant? All right, so will we get a certified pen test? Yeah, that's what this is all about, Corey.
Yeah. So yeah, as far as compliance goes, we can work with any compliance program that's out there, including the DoD. I've had close colleagues that have been with the DoD, and I don't see that being much of an issue. We'll just work with whatever your organization needs us to do. Certified pen test pricing, it really depends on the scope of testing. One API with 100 endpoints, the pricing on a APIsec Certified Pen Test starts around $14,500 US and goes from there. But that includes the annual license, the pen test, the retest, and anything in between there. Yeah, and it's available today. We're already out there talking to potential clients about it and everything else. Yeah.
Really. Yeah, Diamond, definitely. Well, actually, maybe I'll put it up here now since we're talking about it. Request a briefing. If you're interested, definitely go to that webpage. There's a form and you can request a briefing with Corey and with me. What I love about this whole service is that it's probably less than you're spending today on your third-party pen test, but you're getting way more for it, right? Truly a lot more for it. So Diamond, hopefully that helped. And please add more comments or questions if we haven't. All right, Arun, Will it be different from API certification API University already has? I think this is maybe some confusion. Like, how is this different than the university?
Yeah, so at the university, we have the API Pen Test course, which guides you through the tools and techniques that should be applied when testing APIs for vulnerabilities. This is a service that's being provided with the partnership between hAPI Labs and APIsec, where we're doing this professionally, where in the course, for example, there isn't a reporting section, you're not getting a report out of it. Anyone can take that course, whereas I'm providing this as a service with APIsec involved. And with this service, you'll get the scanner set up for you from hAPI Labs. And then at the end of the penetration test, we'll hand that off and leave you in good hands with APIsec throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, so it's really complementary, right? So the university is our education arm, right? Which I imagine a lot of you are very familiar with already. And maybe this is a good segue to Diamond's second question, right? How hard is it to learn pen testing from a beginner's background? I think you've come to the right place to learn it. We've got courses. A lot of people ask us, like, what's a good journey to go on? And if you're really starting from scratch, our APIsec or API Security Fundamentals course, which we just re-released, is a fantastic place to start. It's an hour and a half or so. It gives you the basics, right? I think from there, you want to go into Corey's OWASP course. It's a deep dive into the OWASP top 10 and beyond. And then you've got choices, right? Documentation's a great course. Authentication is an outstanding course. But our flagship course for sure is the pen testing course that really got this all kicked off 2 years ago that Corey created. Corey, maybe give a little bit of background, or what can people expect in that course?
Yeah, so in that course, you can expect the whole gambit of beginning to end on what you'd expect to do for API security testing. So I go in everything from getting your lab set up to testing for excessive data exposure, learning how to analyze endpoints, going through and testing for a lot of the OWASP top 10, finding outdated versions of APIs, finding injection vulnerabilities, fuzzing APIs, the whole gambit of tests that you can do for APIs to help you find those vulnerabilities. And really, it is the longest course at the university. And the reason is there's so much to do. There's a lot to cover throughout that. And yeah.
Yeah, it's really outstanding. And in fact, we're refreshing the whole course. There's definitely some updates needed. So in the next few weeks, we'll actually be releasing those, make sure everything's up to date and so forth. But yeah, it's an outstanding course. I dare say you won't find anything better, paid or free, on the internet, period. I love these questions from Jennifer. I'm going to put them up here. So Wiz, I guess we should call it Google now. How does your scanner compare to Wiz? Not that I use the Wiz tool, but curious, because when we have manual pen tests, things are not always aligned. Yeah, I got to say, I don't fully know Wiz at a deep level, but Corey, do you understand where Wiz fits into things?
Yeah, not too sure where Wiz fits in with API security, except for I know it's a cloud security tool.
Yeah.
And so there are APIs involved in the cloud. So it's probably helping test or filter on that end. So yeah, I'm not too sure where it fits in comparison, but with the APIsec scanner is specifically built to test for API security vulnerabilities, and it's really effective at doing that.
I think that's the thing, right? There are lots of tools, cloud security tools, that will look at your configuration and things like that. But what we're talking about here is an active attack simulation technology and service, right? That's what we're talking about here. We're pressure testing your applications. And we say API, but really we're talking about the whole application environment here to simulate those attacks and to find where you're leaking data, right? Where user is able to access user B's data, where you've got authentication flaws and SSRF and all of that. And that I'm certain Wiz does not provide. And frankly, I've not seen any other technology do a good job of that. And that's the main thing I think for you to get here, Jennifer, is that this is a comprehensive, proactive attack simulation, right? It's going to do the types of things that attackers want to do. And they're almost impossible to detect by watching your live traffic or to try to detect in real time. You have to simulate these things if you're going to actually discover them and do something about them, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to detect because at the end of the day, it looks like a successful request that's made. So with REST APIs, you have a token. That token should belong to the right user. And if an attacker has taken over that token, they're going to look like user A to begin with.
That's
And
right.
so the detection technology, it's going to be very challenging to be able to say, oh, look, a successful API request. How is that any different to spot the attack compared to all the others?
Exactly. No, that's it. And this is why so many of those attacks get through the defenses, right? It looks like legitimate traffic to your WAF, to your gateway, to your SIM. And that's why we've got to find other ways to find them. A couple more questions here from Rusuka. If there's no documentation and GraphQL introspection has been disabled, how are you going to get API info? This is a great question.
Yeah, so with our API discovery service, we've teamed up with F5 to capture it at the network or cloud level. And from setting that up and working with them, we're able to collect the API requests that are being passed from there. Outside of that, on the penetration testing side, we can intercept traffic, we can generate traffic with a web application and capture the APIs from that and build out a collection with those requests.
Yeah, I think this is another great comment, Jennifer, right? Like, how do you get these endpoints? This is what Corey's addressing here, right? Once you've got that, then you can activate the technology, you get all of that automation. There's a question here from Kushal. What's the price of the APIsec scanner? It's just on our website. So I'm going to actually throw up the sign up page for that. If you want to try the technology that the pros use, that Corey uses, you can use it. Right? Just go and sign up. There are free accounts, there are paid accounts, but we definitely encourage you to go and check it out right away. Here, let me actually show there we go. That's the scanner. It's incredibly easy to use. All you got to do is supply a Swagger file, Postman collection, GraphQL schema, or plug it into your gateway. If you're using AWS, Azure, Kong, you name it, MuleSoft, it'll plug right into those and fetch the details right out, and then auto-generate all of that test coverage, right? Now, in the hands of someone like Corey, you're going to have the absolute best possible results as well. And then, of course, because it's automated, as we've been talking about, it can be made continuous, right? There's no reason to do this once a year. You should do it every release. If you're doing a nightly build, it should run every night. And there you go. So hopefully, Kushal, that answers your question. The pricing's right there. There's a free edition. There's a pen test edition. It's $325 a month, I think. A pro edition for all of the integrations and things like that. What have we missed here? Is there a partner program from Sergio? Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested in partnering with us, if you've got clients that you'd like to leverage this service with, reach out to me, dan@apisec.ai, and you can absolutely reach out. We'll be happy to talk to you about how we can collaborate with you. And that's all of the questions that I see here. Let me go through a few announcements. We always have announcements here. So that's the scanner. I did mention that we re-released the API Security Fundamentals course. This is the 2025 edition. New and improved, I certainly believe. It's one of our most popular courses. And so if you want to brush up or you haven't taken it yet, definitely go and try that. Let me put that one on the screen. There you go. Let me see here. What is the difference here from Diamond? What is the difference between the two certifications on the APIsec website? Are you referring to Diamond, like the CASA and the ASCP? Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, no, I was just going to go off of that assumption. Yeah. So the CASA is the Certified API Security Analyst, and that certification is a demonstration that you have an understanding of the OWASP API Security Top 10 and Beyond course. So you have enough knowledge to be able to pass, I believe it's a 100-question exam with 80% pass rate. And you need to be able to identify vulnerabilities and have an understanding of how to remediate those, prevent those, so on and so forth. So that's a multiple choice exam. The API Security Certified Professional is a hands-on practical exam for bug bounty hunters, penetration testers, anyone that wants to prove their skills in a real lab with two vulnerable apps that are API driven. And in both of those situations, their applications, I was very close in with designing those and helping Meltech develop those. And I wanted them to be real. And the thing with the ASCP is they're based off of real experiences in penetration testing applications. You cannot just point Zap or Burp or Nessus at these exams and expect to pass. Of course, that's a step in the process, but you need to be able to analyze endpoints. You need to be able to intercept traffic and identify real vulnerabilities in these applications. And there have been times we speak to people that haven't passed, and part of it is, they're pointing all the automated tools, they're scanning it, and they're not getting the results and not realistically interacting with the API. So real life, hands-on, real world exams that requires hands-on experience and testing. It really, the people that pass the ASCP, that are ASCP certified, really demonstrates that they have the skills to be effectively testing APIs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And honestly, if you're doing API pen testing in your organization and you don't have an ASCP certified person doing it, you probably aren't getting the best results that you should be. Frankly, this is the most realistic. We see a lot of people fail repeatedly because they just brute force it or they throw these automated things at it. That is not what your attackers are doing. They're getting very sophisticated. They're exploiting logic. They're looking at what your app does and then tweaking it. It's not these brute force script kiddie approaches.
And it's for that reason, people can be caught off guard by that if they haven't taken the pen test course and taken their time through it. Maybe they have a lot of pen test experience and they just dive into it as a challenge. And it's one of the reasons that we include a free retry with the exam, is that you get that first experience with it. And then if you're not successful in it, you can go back to the course, study, focus on analyzing endpoints and actually interacting with the API, and then go back and retake it when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jennifer, I saw your comment. I have your email and it's on my to-do list, but let's set up a time with you and me and Jesse, who's here on the session, and get you squared away. I think you had tried it when the product had just been released. So there's no question we'll get you sorted. Let's see what else we got here from Godwin. This is a good one. What is the security of data for companies that are highly regulated? I think you're talking about like the platform itself. So the platform itself, we do all kinds of security for the data, right? There's full data encryption, segregation, multi-tenant, SOC 2 compliance, all of that, right? We do support, we should have mentioned this, testing of your internal APIs. Even though it's a cloud-based service, there is a hosted agent that you can deploy locally that will allow you to scan your non-internet facing APIs as well. And for some of you that really want to have more control, there's a full on-prem capability as well. All of the above, frankly, right? So you can dial it up to whatever works best for you, but just understand that there are all of those options available to you. Let me get close to wrapping up here. This is a fun thing that we launched here. We call it Beat the Scanner. And basically, we're so confident in the scanner that we've built that if you can find a flaw, a vulnerability that it cannot find, we want to know about it. And we want to fill those gaps. We want to recognize you, reward you for your contributions there. So if any of you want to put your skills to the test against the scanner, by all means, we welcome you to do that. And let us know if you found something that the scanner didn't successfully find. So definitely go for it.
When I'm out there talking about all the organizations that just point their generic scanners at APIs and they're not finding anything, APIsec goes the complete opposite route and rewards and endorses people to try and find these gaps to make the product even better.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's why wouldn't we do that? We need to have that faith and confidence in our product and continuous improvement. Here from Olukayode, in an environment where core app is SAP and all APIs hosted on SAP PO, which uses SOAP API architecture for integration. Can APIsec scanner run on SOAP? What are the requirements? APIsec currently supports REST and GraphQL. And yeah, would not be able to do SOAP. Corey might be able to help you out with SOAP. I don't know, Corey, any comments there?
Yeah, I mean, I've pen tested SOAP before, but yeah, I don't know of an easy solution or convenient scanner that's out there for SOAP specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think maybe this is our last slide here before we wrap up, is APIsec Con. So hopefully some of you attended our APIsec Con about a month ago. Our next one is going to be May. This is actually wrong. It's May 21, not the 22nd. And it's going to be really another outstanding event. I think it's going to be about 6 hours. The speaker list is already shaping up to be extraordinary. Go and sign up. Let me put the sign up page here. Where are you? And it's free as always and virtual. You can attend from anywhere in the world. It'll all be recorded. If you want to speak, we've got a call for papers open as well. And we'd definitely love to feature you on the program. And with that, any last comments from you, Corey, or from the group before we wrap up?
No, outside of if you're looking to test your APIs thoroughly and test them for the things that criminals are out there exploiting all the time, like this is the best way to do that. Not only are you getting that in-depth pen test, but then you're getting continuous testing throughout the rest of the year. And that's just one of the best ways. And I haven't heard of any other comparable service out there. So this is really the best way to test your APIs and have confidence in your security.
Yeah, we're real proud of it. As you can see, it's an honor to work with you, Corey, on this service. I put the briefing request form back up. So if after listening to us for the last 40 minutes has intrigued you to potentially bring this service into your organization, definitely click on that, fill out the form. We'll set up a time to give you the full briefing, and that's it. So Corey, thank you for being here again, for all that you do for the community and all the great content you give us, and now this really epic service as well.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
And thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.